Did you know that trauma can actually become addictive? When painful experiences happen again and again, your brain and body start to expect stress, almost as if chaos feels more familiar than calm. Research shows that people with unresolved trauma often find themselves drawn back into harmful situations, staying in toxic relationships, engaging in risky behaviors, or replaying painful memories over and over. This isn't because they want to suffer, it's because their nervous system has learned to live in survival mode, and that survival mode feels normal. So how dangerous is trauma addiction really? And more importantly, how do we break free? Let's unpack this step by step. Section 1. What is trauma addiction? Trauma addiction may not be listed as an official psychiatric diagnosis, but it is a deeply recognized pattern among trauma researchers and therapists. At its core, it describes the brain's tendency to repeatedly seek, recreate, or be drawn toward situations that feel similar to earlier painful experiences, even when they are harmful. This pull can be conscious, like going back to a toxic partner despite knowing the risks, or unconscious, like choosing jobs with controlling bosses because it feels familiar. These behaviors are not just poor decisions or a lack of willpower. They are survival strategies that once kept you safe. Your brain is trying to manage overwhelming emotions like fear, shame, and emptiness by repeating what it already knows. The tragedy is that the very behaviors designed to protect you can end up reinforcing the same pain, keeping you stuck in an exhausting, self-perpetuating cycle. Section 2. Why trauma addiction is dangerous. This is where things get truly serious, because trauma doesn't just hurt emotionally, it actually rewires the brain. When a child grows up in an unsafe, chaotic, or unpredictable environment, their stress response system, often called the fight or flight system, stays switched on for too long. Over time, the brain literally learns to expect danger and becomes stuck in survival mode, scanning for threats even when life is calm. Living in this constant state of hypervigilance drains your energy, weakens the immune system, and keeps you emotionally on edge. To get temporary relief, many people turn to risky behaviors, substances, or toxic relationships, which only strengthen the brain's link between pain and comfort. If this cycle isn't broken, it can lead to serious outcomes: anxiety, depression, substance addiction, self-harm, and even physical illnesses such as heart disease and autoimmune disorders. Trauma addiction is not just psychological, it is deeply biological. Section 3. Trauma bonding and reenactment. One of the most powerful reasons trauma addiction is so hard to escape is something known as trauma bonding. This happens when pain and brief moments of kindness get tangled together. For example, when an abusive partner alternates between hurting you and apologizing, showing affection, or giving gifts. The brain becomes chemically wired to associate love with pain, releasing dopamine and oxytocin during the good moments, which makes leaving the harmful situation incredibly difficult. Then there's trauma reenactment, the unconscious drive to recreate old wounds in an attempt to rewrite the ending. People may find themselves repeatedly drawn to partners, jobs, or friendships that mirror the original trauma, almost as if trying to get it right this time. Ironically, this often leads to more harm, deepening the emotional cycle. Sometimes when life becomes calm and safe, it can even feel uncomfortable or empty, making chaos feel like home. Section 4. How common and how risky. Trauma-related addictive patterns are far more common and far more dangerous than most people realize. Research consistently shows that survivors of childhood abuse, neglect, or prolonged exposure to violence are several times more likely to develop substance use disorders, repeat unhealthy relationship patterns, or experience ongoing crises as adults. Some studies report that in clinical or rehab settings, more than 70%, and in some cases up to 80% of clients have significant trauma histories driving their behaviors. This means that what looks like self-sabotage is often an unhealed survival response. If left untreated, trauma addiction doesn't just impact emotions, it affects physical health, increasing the risk of autoimmune conditions, heart disease, and chronic pain. It can also lead to emotional exhaustion, severe isolation, financial instability, and a higher chance of falling into abusive or exploitative situations again. Recognizing how widespread and risky this is the first step towards urgent, compassionate intervention. Section 5. A different approach to healing. Recovering from trauma addiction is not about erasing the past, but about teaching the brain and body that chaos is no longer required for survival. Healing works like gradually rewiring a tangled circuit. Every small, healthy choice begins to redirect your nervous system towards safety and connection. Instead of pushing yourself to get over it, focus on gently calming the hyperactive stress response through practices like polyvagal exercises, gentle yoga designed for trauma survivors, breathwork, or mindfulness. Creative outlets, journaling, art therapy, music, or dance can also help release stored emotions without words. What's most powerful is consistency. Every time you create a moment of calm, you're showing your brain that peace is not only possible, but safe. Over time, these repeated experiences build new neural pathways, making balance and stability feel more natural than chaos. Healing becomes less about struggle and more about relearning how to feel safe. Section 6. Building micro moments of change. Breaking the cycle of trauma addiction rarely happens through one big breakthrough. It's built from dozens of small, repeated choices. Start by simply noticing your urges. When you feel pulled toward conflict, chaos, or self-sabotage, pause and create a small interruption. This could be as simple as taking 5 deep breaths, stepping outside to feel fresh air, or writing down what you're feeling before reacting. Practice replacing chaos with calm in everyday moments. Choose to rest when you're tired. Say no to unnecessary drama, or allow yourself a moment of silence instead of escalating a fight. Each of these tiny shifts signals to your nervous system that you are safe. Over time, repetition rewires your brain, slowly changing your default setting from constant survival mode to a more grounded, peaceful state. Section 7. Staying free without fear of relapse. Slipping back into old patterns can feel discouraging, but it doesn't mean you failed. Think of relapse as a compass. It's showing you where your system still needs care and safety. Instead of self-criticism, respond with curiosity. What triggered me? What can I do differently next time? Create a plan for high-stress moments. Keep a calm kit with soothing tools, headphones with grounding music, a favorite scent, or a list of affirmations to read when panic rises. Schedule nervous system resets, nature walks, journaling, gentle yoga, or simply unplugging from screens for a few hours. Most importantly, build a future that makes chaos lose its appeal. Fill your days with steady routines, nourishing connections, and meaningful goals so that peace feels natural, not foreign. Each choice you make is another brick in the foundation of a safer, freer life. Conclusion: a hopeful roadmap. Trauma addiction is dangerous because it convinces us that pain is normal, even necessary. But it is not a life sentence. With the right knowledge, professional help, and consistent emotional practice, you can break the cycle, rebuild trust in yourself and others, and create a life that feels safe and free. Thank you for staying with me until the end. If this video helped you, or if you know someone who might benefit from it, please hit like, subscribe, and share it so others can find this information too. And I'd love to hear from you. What patterns have you noticed in your own healing journey? Drop a comment below. Your story might inspire someone else. See you in the next video.